Good evening, everyone. A disturbing trend has our attention tonight. Anchorage is on pace this year to break the city's all-time record for car thefts. That's according to an analysis by KTUU's investigative reporter Kyle Hopkins.
It's the story of the epidemic, and tonight we begin a three-part series focused on this trend called Grand Theft Anchorage. And it begins with an incident that hits very close to home.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. The personal story I'm about to share mirrors that of hundreds, even thousands of Anchorage residents. As we told you at 5 p.m., my wife Rebecca Palsh and I woke up recently to find that our own family car had been stolen right out of the driveway overnight. And that's where this story begins. Already this year, more than 2,000 cars have been stolen in Anchorage. That's a staggering 300% increase over the same period in 2015. A wave of property crime that city officials say is linked to the statewide opioid epidemic.
Ron copies.
And police spread thin. We quickly learned that if we wanted to get our car back, we would have to get to work ourselves. The APD employee said, on the phone said, we wouldn't send an officer to go look for just one car. You know, they told us they wouldn't go looking for just one car. And then she's the first one who said, you should probably put it on Facebook, you should probably talk to cab companies and just get the word out that it's stolen. And so we did. Sure enough, later that same day, I received the first of many tips. Our car parked along Tudor Road. I headed out to check out the tip. Someone on their walk to work had seen a car that looked like the one that I posted. False alarm. By the time Rebecca anchored the news,
lawmakers will also be taking up the issue of public safety.
But that night, a tip on our post to the Stolen Alaska Facebook group, and a photo, our car, seen minutes earlier at a Midtown parking lot. I hurried there in a borrowed car. I'm standing exactly where our stolen 2009 Hyundai Santa Fe was as of about 2 hours ago. I arrived maybe 45 minutes too late. For more than 30 hours, I'd been desperately searching for my family car. Following every possible lead I received from online forums like Stolen in Alaska and Scanner Joe. I was driving around town in a borrowed car, my family's concern growing.
Then it got spooky, because then Kyle's, like the whole time we kind of talked to each other and text and stuff, and we don't go long, like naturally without talking to each other for very long, and he like went for like 2 hours without speaking to me.
And finally, a real-time tip led me to Midtown, where I witnessed the car being driven out of a fast food parking lot by total strangers. I followed right behind it, even taking pictures when the car stopped. Unknown items being loaded into the hatchback.
Anchorage Police Dispatch.
I told the 911 operator my specific location. The police just arrived and have surrounded the car with guns drawn, and they have some guys on their knees.
Turn away from us! Turn away from us!
Swarming the car and removing the occupants.
I was at a kid's birthday party with my sister-in-law, Kyle's sister, and she and I kept getting like Facebook alerts, and we're like, I think he found the car. And then I was like, that's my car right there.
Did you have another one stolen?
It's full of stuff. There's just a bunch of stuff that, you have to assume is stolen goods.
The purpose of the arraignment is to notify you of whatever charges have brought you into custody.
The driver turned out to be 20-year-old Alexis Stewart. No criminal record. Now charged with drug possession and vehicle theft.
Bail had previously been set at $1,000 cash or corporate. Does anyone wish to be heard on that?
But under the 2016 crime bill known as Senate Bill 91, Stewart won't face any upfront jail time. If convicted, any time behind bars would likely be suspended. A reality that's made the law among the most controversial in recent history.
I kind of felt bad and angry at the same time.
Anything else happened? Did you guys go anywhere?
As for the other occupants in the car, no arrests, no citations. Seemingly free to leave after a few questions from police. Before leaving on foot, one of the men even tried to take my headphones with him. A search of court records shows he does have a record for assault, trespassing, violating a restraining order, all taking place over the past 2 years. The next step is at some point they'll take my car off of stolen status, and all that stuff that's in the back, they'll determine what's mine and what's not. Like these cookies, this peanut butter, not mine. Neither are all these needles. Bolt cutters. A credit card and ID belonging to my neighbor who was burglarized the same night. And even a face mask. A full 36 hours after it went missing, we finally had our car back. The first stop, the car wash. And we were back to our family routine by Monday morning. But the last 48 hours wouldn't soon be forgotten.
Some of my things got stolen because they were in the car.
Like what?
A pencil that had paw prints on it, and a lot of my toys.
Poppy, do you still want to punch the person who broke into the car?
Yes.
Poppy's the enforcer of the house, and so she was like, if I find whoever stole that car, I will punch them in the face.
But we don't punch people.
Ours was just one story, one of 60 vehicles reported stolen in Anchorage that week alone. It was also a lesson in how during the current car theft epidemic, a community can come together to crack a case.
Really went out of their way for us, and I loved kind of the idea of everyone sticking together and we're all in this, we're gonna fix this whole thing together.
Our family is grateful for the police officers who answered our 911 call and ultimately made an arrest. They collected all the evidence and handed us our keys back right then and there. It was a good outcome in our case, and police say that more than 90% of the vehicles that are stolen are later recovered. Also, as you saw, all the passengers were let go that day when our car was found. But if it had happened today, that would not have been the case. The Anchorage Assembly last night voted to make it easier for prosecutors to charge people under a law that says it's illegal to ride in a stolen car.
So Kyle, in this case, Good Samaritans helped you find the car. You followed the perpetrators. So, okay, now what did police say about the dangers of getting involved?
Well, I guess I went right up to the line. That's something that Channel 2 News has been covering at length in recent months. It's a topic of conversation for sure, both with APD and crime victims who really want to do whatever they can to fight back, to get their things back during this epidemic in our city. But where is the line? How far can you go? That's what we'll be examining in part 3 of our series tomorrow at 6, when several other victims will share their stories.
State law limits the number of liquor licenses allowed in each Alaska city, and in fact, the number of bars in Anchorage is already tapped out.
Well, but as Channel 2's investigative reporter Kyle Hopkins tells us, getting a so-called tourism license is a way to get around that cap, a way for businesses to make money selling alcohol.
Well, that's right. These special liquor licenses are intended for hotels that entice tourists and their tourism dollars to the state. But as you'll see in this report, that's not exactly what's happening at one of the local hotels we recently visited. Imagine you're a tourist looking to visit Anchorage. You search online for a hotel, book a room, and what you find when you arrive is this. Welcome to the Black Angus Hotel on Gamble Street. It's one of 165 businesses across Alaska that the state has awarded with a special type of liquor license. And it's conditions like these that raise the question, is this really the tourism image Alaska wants to promote?
It came to light that staff had been noticing that there were some of these tourism licenses that were not meeting the statutory requirements in terms of number of hotel rooms.
A researcher for the State Liquor Board has found that 1 in 5 of the businesses with tourism liquor licenses does not have enough rooms to meet the legal requirement for the license. In fact, many don't even have half as many rooms as they should in order to be eligible to sell alcohol. The Black Angus does have enough rooms, 64 of them. I recently rented one and intended to spend the night, and quickly learned the hotel looked nothing like the image portrayed online.
Yeah, that's a roach. That is a roach.
Joshua Jones is an exterminator for American Pest Control.
Yes.
I asked him about the debris in this mattress.
That's the discharged blood from a bed bug.
So that's bed bug?
Yeah, that's bed bug. That's a sign saying that room had recent or possibly still active bed bug activity.
Signs of bed bugs on the beds.
Assemblyman Christopher Constant represents this neighborhood.
That is absolutely a cockroach.
Woo! What do you think a tourist would think if they checked into this hotel?
I think they would wonder where they had come to if Anchorage in Alaska was really a place to live, work, and play.
A place that claims it caters to tourists, even though police have been called to this hotel more than 400 times so far this year. And while there are dozens of hotels and inns in downtown Anchorage, the local fire station says the Black Angus has taken up a large portion of its time over the past 3 years.
We respond from Station 1 to 1,333 calls to just hotels. and inns in our district downtown. And of that, 28% of those calls are to this one particular address.
Including a whopping 24 false fire alarm calls. In fact, on the night I checked in, the clerk made it a point to tell me not to worry if the alarm went off because they were making repairs to the system. That night, the police showed up at least twice in a few hours. And in a state wrestling with an opioid epidemic, this is what I saw when I looked out my window into the parking lot. I called police to report the illegal activity I witnessed.
911, what is the location of the emergency?
Black Angus on Gamble.
And then, after only 12 hours at the Black Angus, I opted to check out. While Anchorage taxpayers are footing the bill for those police and fire department visits, the hotel has also been subsidized by the public at nearly every level of government. The Small Business Administration, that's the feds and offices behind me, has guaranteed a loan to help the Black Angus stay in business. Now, the city has directly paid the Black Angus $16,859 to house tuberculosis patients among its other residents. And when it was time for the liquor license to be renewed, it did so without a word of protest. And because the city didn't protest, the state liquor board, housed behind me, approved the liquor license without a word of debate. Which brings us back to those liquor licenses that are supposed to be bringing tourists to Alaska.
In some ways, it seems like a trap for people. Like if this is where we're offering people subsidies to go, or if this is what people can find that they can afford, then we are failing as a city and as a state, because this is immoral.
Today, I visited the area with Hamilton to hear what he had to say. Our crew thought that anybody, had it been there, was now gone. We were wrong. Whoa.
That was the staff that was going through the midsection. I mean, it looked like it was ritual. It looked ritualistic with the way that stick was sticking right out of his abdomen.
Do you have any idea who that might be?
No.
Did anyone you talked to seem to know who it might be?
No.
If you're wondering why Hamilton didn't call 911 right away days earlier.
One of the questions we're going to ask is, why didn't you call us first? You know, it's great to call somebody, but the first call should have been to us.
When you hug somebody for too long and your comment is that you know what their bra cup size is, maybe that's definitely inappropriate. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
And as she walked away with a friend, Sattler says Westlake followed up with a text message.
Dean texted me and said, lift up your parka. And we looked at it, we were like, gross. And I put the phone back in my pocket and I just kept walking. That is exactly the kind of stuff that he would say all the time.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't. I absolutely don't remember that.
If a young woman says, "Hey, he touched my butt," you would know if you did that. Did you?
I would assume so.
What do you mean you would assume so? Like either you did or you didn't.
It just okay. No, no. I didn't touch any butts.
But Westlake does admit that he now realizes some of the things he has said to women in the past were out of line.
On one hand, you're saying, times have changed and this behavior now is unacceptable. But what I'm saying is there are indications that you've been called out for this type of behavior throughout your life.
Okay.
Isn't that true?
I think every one of us, maybe. I don't know.
Today, Westlake's response to the women and his status as an elected official changed. Announcing his resignation through a statement issued by the House majority, it reads, quote, "These allegations do not reflect who I am nor who I want to be. I will learn from this experience and be a better man because of it." The announcement came as Channel 2 Investigates continue to look into Westlake's previous court history, including a paternity case we uncovered in which it was revealed Westlake fathered a daughter with a teenage girl in 1988. The mother gave birth to the child at age 16. Westlake was 27 years old at the time and had begun working as a Kotzebue police officer. An underground city that Japanese forces dug into the hillside by hand. An effort to escape Allied bombs. Countless tunnels, some so small you have to crawl.
Kind of amazing, huh?
You just slide in and it's just like you disappear and you're like, is this safe? And then I got to the T there, kind of where you started breathing hard. And you're like, is this safe? Is this okay?